Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Meredith, one of the Husqvarna Viking educators, and it is December. It is crazy. It is already December 3rd. It's wild that we're just finished Thanksgiving and we're already full head into Christmas right now. So today we are going to be making this stocking. Isn't this so cool? So this was created by one of our Swedish I guess coworker, one of the Swedes made this, and I loved it. There's so many options for colorways that you can do. It's just really, I love it so much. It turned out a lot better than, not that I didn't think it would turn out good, but I was just really excited with how well it turned out. So we're going to be going through this today. I'm going to be showing you some tips and tricks for sewing different blocks, sewing the whole thing together, all the things like that. But before we get started, Amy is in the background. If you need anything or have any questions or want me to explain something again or show it again, please feel free to type that in the chat. Amy will relay that to me. If we don't know the answer, we will figure it out and I'll come back and answer those. If you're watching this later from right now live, feel free to still add in those comments and questions. We check them for about a week or so afterwards, and I'm happy to answer those for you, or just send us a message directly and we can get those answered for you. I believe the instructions and the cut file and everything are in the description that Amy has on YouTube and on Facebook, so you should be able to access it. If not, you can just go to Creative Aid, and it is the Patchwork Quilted Stocking. You can just search in the Create area, and you'll find it there. What's really neat about this is the entire thing, besides my lining, was cut on Memento. All of my little pieces, my triangles, my square on point, everything was cut on my Memento right there, like super quick and easy. I did it on the 12 by 24 mat. You do have the ability, if you don't have Memento, to cut them manually, but it was really quick and easy. I have 2 mats. I just rotated them out, switched them out, and I had everything cut within maybe 30 minutes. That was with my children, bugging me in the background and things like that as well. But super quick and easy. And I love that it helped me cut triangles. Like, triangles can be a little cumbersome sometimes, or even cutting those squares that need to be on point. And there's a reason for that. I love that the instructions already automatically had them cut on point versus like this. And it's because of how the grain of the fabric is. You want it to be a certain way when you're doing certain blocks, like the square on point. What do y'all call this? This was a debate Amy and I've been having. What do you guys call this square? I would love to hear in the comments. What do you, because it's not a diamond, because it's equal sides on all sides. So what do you call this square? Let me know in the chat. I'm just curious. Inquiring minds would like to know. So we're going to start with the easy part first. We're going to start with just sewing a 4-patch. So one of the blocks you'll see right here, or there's 2 sets of them. So here's a 4-patch and here's a 4-patch. And then there's one more down here, also 4-patch, 4-patch. So you will actually need 2 of these panels, one for the back and one for the front. You could definitely do a solid color in the back if you knew which way you were going to have it hang. But I wanted to have it on both sides. So whenever you're cutting, you want to make sure you have double of whatever it is you're cutting as well. So we're going to start with these squares up here and sewing a 4-patch. And I'm just going to give you my tips and tricks for piecing them and pressing and things like that. Again, my way is not the only way. I understand everybody has their ways of doing things. I'm just showing you what works best for me. So I have my squares right here, and we're going to sew. I'm going to take one blue one and one white one. The blue's kind of really light, but I have a blue and a white here. We are going to sew 2 of these together right here. I have my 1/4 inch piecing foot. This is one of my favorite feet right here. This foot, along with the flange on it, I probably use this foot 75% of the time when I'm sewing. It's my go-to foot for all things. One of my really good sewing friends this weekend, because we had the sale on presser feet online, she was like, hey, because she had spent an afternoon with me sewing over Thanksgiving break. And she said, hey, what was that foot that I used? Because she used this machine when we were sewing together. And I said, oh, it's this foot. And I sent her the link and everything. And she ordered that and another one at the same time. So definitely add it to your wish list if you don't have it already. having that flange there, I really don't have to pay attention to my fabric and it's shifting. It can just be right there versus having to make sure that it's lined up with that 1/4 inch right there. So I chained piece, and I would normally chain piece all of these together, but we're just going to make one little square today. So I have this right here, and I have a fun little gadget for cutting them, but it is in my other, behind on the other wall over there. So I've got these 2 pieces right here, white and blue, and we're going to press them. When you do that, again, you can press how you would like. I know some people like to press their seams open. Some will press it to the dark side. It really just, it's a personal preference. There's no right or wrong. I'm not the quilting police. So we are going to, I'm going to see if I can turn this just a little bit right here. So I have my little mat and my little mini press. If you guys don't have this, this is my little go-to Singer mini press. I use it for when I'm doing heat transfers and things like that, but I also use it just right here to do my pressing. I take it with me when I go on retreat and things like that as well. So this is another little good one, and it's not going to break the bank either. This would be a good stocking stuffer. The box would definitely fit in the stocking we're making. So I have this pressed right here, both of them to the dark side. So I'm going to line them up, and I want these 2 seams right here to sort of nestle in on each other. And this is part of the reason why you press in opposite directions, or in the same direction, in this case, towards that blue right there, so that they go in opposite directions. And I will take a pin. I did not bring any straight pins. Here's one. I'm going to take a pin, and I like to push it through one half, and then I come back out the other half, just like that, to hold it in place and keep it snug together. You can feel when it's nestled in on itself, just like that. Amy, are there any questions? And then we're going to sew down the side right here.
Actually, Meredith, someone would love for you to show how to turn on that mini press.
Okay, I can show that. That's an easy thing. So I'm coming up to my needle here, and we're not going to sew over our needle. So I'm going to just slowly pull this out, and I'm going to keep going right here. And just sew right over my seams and keep going all the way down. And then we're going to cut that. I like to stop with my needle in the down position when I'm sewing, so I can make sure everything stays in place. So look right here. You see how these perfectly line up right there, because I've nestled them in on themselves. What is really fun now, I think this is just such a fun little, I'm weird, I know. I like cutting. I enjoy cutting pieces and stuff like that, but I like being able to do this little twist right here. So once you get your 4 together, you just twist them, and then we're going to press that way and that way. And you'll notice now when we do it that way, it's going to push our seam to the lighter side. That's why, again, I'm not the seam or the quilting or the piecing police, because it's all going to fall into place how it's supposed to. So I'm just going to take my mini press, and how to turn that on, I'm going to show you guys. Let's see if I can zoom in here. So you're going to push and hold the power button right here, and then you're going to touch the temperature button, and it's going to blink like that. You can change this temperature in 10-degree increments all the way up to 400, and it starts at 250. So I just leave it at 340, 350 is where it's at. And then it has a timer setting on it as well. So if you're doing heat transfer vinyl, things like that, you can push and hold and get different. Oh, hold on. It's warming back up on me. That's why it's beeping at me. So let's get back up here. Let me get it back to that temperature. I think it's wanting to get there first. So we're going to just press, and look, you can see that it's working up to that. So it's at 329 right now, and it's going to slowly go up to, I think I had it at 350, 340. So I'm going to show you in just a second. I know you can't really see this right here, but I'm going to just press those seams down just like that, and everything fell into place and looks very nice and clean on the back. So that is how you do one of the little 4 patches. And so you're going to do another one of these to create 8. So you're going to do that twice, or actually 4 times technically, 2 for the front, 2 for the back. So one of those is here, and then another one here. And same thing, you're going to be able to, I have one already done and sewn together. You're going to be able to do that little twirl twist with all of them. You see how nice and clean that looks back there? So that's how you do that one there. Super simple and easy. Okay, the next one we're going to do is we're going to do the long rectangle ones. Are there any questions on this one before I move on? And any questions on the iron? I got that turned on. Showed you how to do that. You're going to push and hold that power button and then push the temperature to where you want, and then it's going to cycle through to get to where you want.
I'm not seeing any questions about either of those things yet.
Okay, perfect. So next we're going to do these down here, and then this one right here that you've seen that I've sort of cut off, and then here's another version of it right back here too. So there's 4 that go vertically, and then the 4 that go horizontal as well. So I think I bumped my camera. We'll see. Nope, we're good. So I'm going to take 2 of my rectangles, again, that were already cut perfectly on my memento, and just put those right sides together. This is really just like the 4-patch we just did. So we're just going to sew straight down one right here. Oh, and it's got my tail of my thread. So again, this is why you stop with your needle down. It caught my bobbin thread, or my tail right there, so it was pulling it forward. So with my needle down, I can raise that presser foot up and not lose my position, my spot in my fabric, and I can just keep sewing. Just like that, all the way down. And again, you can press whichever way you would like. I'm going to press it towards that dark side right there. So I'm going to do that real quick. And this is, like I said, it's just like the 4 squares. It's just with these guys here. And then I have one. Do I have one? I have this one here. So we would do 2 more of these, and we would alternate them like this. And the instructions have all of these. And what's really neat is when you, so let me come back to me really quick. Let me explain a little bit more what you get with the instructions and the pattern. So you get the instructions for assembling the stocking. That is once everything is complete with your panel piece. So when you're done, you'll have these two big squares that are all like this. Imagine it's not cut out. And then it's going to go through the steps of cutting it out and whatnot. But you're also going to get a pre-created cut design for you to open up within the quilting software, the Creative 8 quilting software. And it's this exact layout right here. So it's going to have the squares, the half square triangles, the square on point, all of those things. It's going to have all of that. So it's going to, you don't have to create this, this layout that's going on right here. It's actually ended up being, I think it was 4 blocks by or maybe it's all individual ones. I think it was all, so that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think it's 6 by 4, I think is what it was. Amy, if you can think of what it is off the top of your head, let me know. I think it's 6 by 4. But in there, you'll go in and you'll put, or it's already in there. It's a 4-patch square for you. It's a half square triangle. It's a square on point. All of that's already in there. What's really neat though, once you have all that in there and you send it to your cutter to cut for you, it actually has assembly instructions. So what I'm showing you right now is going to be the step-by-step. It's going to have all the individual pieces and how you put them together to create the little block. Then it's going to have how you take each block and put those together until you get the entire piece, which I'm going to have one of those here in just a second to show you. So everything I'm showing you is already in the quilting software once you upload this. And again, this is a free project. There's no cost to this project. There's no cost to the Creative 8 quilting and crafting software or anything like that either right now. So go take advantage of that. So once you have 2 of these, you're going to sew those 2 together there. But I have 2 like this. You're also going to do 2 like this. So I already have 2 sewn together, and we're going to do the same thing. I have them pressed in opposite directions or towards the dark side right there. You see that? And they're just going to nestle into place just like that right there. And then we're going to pin it and sew down. And this is one of the pieces I need here in a second to complete my other apart. So I want to sew that together for us. So all the way down, and we're coming up to our needle or to our pin that I just threw on the ground. So I'm gonna have to get that in a second. And keep going all the way down. And then we're going to push the scissors. There it is. I'll pick that up. No worries. I'm not gonna step on that needle. So again, perfectly fell into place and those points line up. They're not offset or anything like that. And the same process here. We're going to just twist this open to get our little spiral here and then press these down here. Any questions, Amy, on this, on the rectangles? It's really just the same as the squares, but just wanted to show you so you had a visual.
No questions. Don't see anything.
Okay. Awesome. So you'll have some of these as well. So we're going to actually take this piece and we're going to sew it to the top of this to create our one strip right here. Then we're going to come back to these guys here. So what I like to do here is I want to line them up and find the center. So these two seams right here don't line up with any seams, so I don't need to worry about those. But this one lines up here. And in this case, and this happens and it's okay. In this case, both of my seams are going the same direction. They're both going over here to the right. That's okay, because what we're going to do, we're just going to pull it back just a little bit, make sure everything's lined up, fold it back, take our straight pin to then hold it in place just like that. And we're going to sew across here. Okay. In a perfect world, all of the seams will go the right direction for the block that was before it and all of those things, but it doesn't always fall like that. So it's okay. We are not the quilt piecing police. So my good friend, my sewing friend that I was telling y'all about, she is always of the mindset, it'll quilt out. She has a long arm and she does a lot of long arm quilting. She's like, I'm not worried about it because it's going to quilt out. And that's really what it's going to do. Once you fuse it to the stabilizer and stuff, it's going to quilt out. So you see right there, everything lines up where they were supposed to right there. All right, I'm going to just press that towards the green right here. I'll show y'all that. So I press that towards the green, and here is one full piece right here. So then we have a whole nother section, another one of these doubled over here. But we're going to go through sewing together some half square triangles and the square on point next. So next, let's do the half square triangles. So these are already triangles that are cut for you. When I do half square triangles, usually I have two squares together and they're bigger than the sides that I need finished, and I do my two seams, all of that. But what's really nice is with Memento, I can get really good clean cuts, triangles, and then I don't have to have all that waste, because when you cut half square triangles like that, you sometimes have a little bit of waste when you square them up. But what's nice about these is they line up perfectly and I don't have any extra waste. So I have my two triangles lined up right here, and we're just going to sew down. And they sew so cleanly and straight. I was really skeptical at first when it came to cutting shapes like this on Memento. But when I started doing, unordinary shapes like triangles or on point squares or hexes and things like that, I found that I really did have more accurate piecing and finished quilts because of the accuracy of the cutting. So just like that, and then we're just going to press towards the dark side, right like that. And that's these half, like they go together so simple and easy. You would think, oh no, triangles, they're on the bias, they're going to stretch a little bit. That is not the case. They go together so easy and so clean. And there you go. There's one of my, and I don't have to square this up. This is the size that I need it to be when it's done. So we have that there. And let's sew. I've got some of those. We're going to sew a couple of those together. So with them, once you have two of them, all of the blocks have two in a row, and then you'll attach two more, just depending. So I think this is the only one with four like this. On the other side, it's actually just 2 and 2. but you can see that in the final picture. So we want them to be like this. So we're going to fold them over like that. Oh, I'm going to drop it. I like to lay it out, if you see right here, and get a visual of how it's supposed to be before I actually sew it together. So just like that, and folding it over right there. And then we're going to sew this all the way down right here. And with the flange there, I'm able to put the little tail, the little dog ear, I think is what people call them, the little ear right there underneath. And it's not going to catch. And we're just going to sew all the way down, straight and clean. So just like that. So there is one of my sets of 4 or 2 half square triangles. And then again, I would press it towards the dark side right there. Any questions on that, Amy, before I move to the square on point? Because that
you are good to move on. And we actually did get a couple of responses on that. Yes, square on point, or somebody said square and square also.
Okay, perfect. I was like, I don't know. There's a million different things people call it, I feel like. So here's another one of my half square triangle squares together. So this is not a difficult square to do. It's the most difficult out of all of the ones that you're going to do in this piece. What's really neat though too, side note, is when you open up the pre-made template that it gives you for the quilt pieces, you can actually select one of the blocks and change it to a different block. So if you don't want to do these and you want to do more half square triangles or just, the rectangles or the squares, you can definitely change it out. It's really customizable in that way. So let's see here. Nope, wrong way. I'm going to see if I can zoom out just a little bit so y'all can see what's going on right here. So here's one of my squares. And again, this was cut on point. So when I pull the corners, it's not going to pull, but when you pull the sides, it does. So we're going to take 2 of our white triangles right here, and we're going to line them up as even as we can. I just eyeball it again, just relaxing and easy. We're going to line that up right like that. And we're going to sew those together and then do the one on the other side. So right there. And these first 2 are really simple and easy because we're not having to really match them up with anything. We're just adding them to them. And again, I would chain piece and do all of these at once, but we're only doing one today. So there's that one side. And now we want to do the opposite side. My squares or my triangles are sticking together. So I like to line this up, and I kind of want to look to see that this point matches up with that point. You can sort of see through since it's such a light color, and line those up. And then we're going to sew all the way down here. Just like that. So you will have 4 just like this, and we're going to press those seams open. And I found, I've done it both ways where I press out and I press in. I found more success when I pressed out. So let me press those real quick and I'll show you. And when I say press, we're not moving the iron. We're literally just taking the iron, pushing it down and holding it. We're not doing this because that can stretch your fabric out, things like that. But you'll have a little square like this. And now we're going to add our 2 on top. So right here, I'm going to just line this up. And I kind of, eyeball how much I have over on each side. It's just easy. Don't overthink it. And sew all the way across both of these. And when you get to that little dog ear right here, it wants to fold up if you have your flange on your foot. So I like to just stop and my presser foot comes up a little bit and I just straighten it out. Just like that. And then we're going to do one on the other side. So line this guy up here. Again, I'm sort of making sure that this point and this point are lined up, that they're not one side or the other, and just, making sure everything looks even. And we're going to sew all the way down here. got to that dog ear, and you'll see because it wants to pull under and get stuck. So you just stop real quick and it'll fall underneath there. All right, and then we're going to press those open, and it's all going to be even. So let me press that. And you can cut the little dog ear things off if you would like to. I did not. So, and we have our little perfect square on square with everything lined up on the fabric the way it was supposed to. So I have 2 of those already. And this is another one of those not difficult, but the most tricky parts, I would say, of this particular thing are getting these lined up, because 2 of these right here, they are lined up together. So we have 2 here, and then there's going to be another set of 2. And you want, if you see, you want those points to line up. And mine's pretty good. The one on this side, there's a little bit more white showing, but again, far enough away, you can't see. It's close enough for government work. So what I like to do is I will hold these like this, get these little, I want to find the point where the blue is and the blue right there and get it lined up as much as I can. Sort of hold it and get my ends lined up. And then I'm going to take a straight pin and just push it straight through that middle. Or what you can do too, you can push your pin through one of them so that it comes right out there at the point. And then we're going to take it and push it in that same spot right there. And that'll get you lined up. My hands are really dry today. Sorry, I'm not grabbing my fabric well. And then we just sort of pin it in place like that. And we're going to sew all the way across. And when I get to that little point, I'm going to slow down a little bit. You don't have to go full speed. I want to make sure that as I get to that all that's going underneath. But I want also my needle to hit basically right here in this point. Can you guys see where my pin was? That's where I want my needle to hit. So I'm going to go a little bit slower. And we want to make sure that hits right there, and it does. And then once that you get through there or get to that middle point, I'm going to make sure everything's lined up the rest of the way. And then you can go the rest. And it caught my tail under here. Oh, still stuck under there. That's from my tail from the beginning. So in a perfect world, look, that lines up really well right there. And for this one, I'm not a person that presses my seams open usually, but this is really bulky right in here. These are the seams that I press open completely like this. So I'm not pressing one way or the other. I'm going to just press it down the middle. And I'll show y'all. And it just gets things a little bit cleaner. So that's the back side like that. And it's not so bulky there. But look, those did line up really well. Just like that. So any questions on square on point before we sort of just go through assembly and everything? We're doing good on time.
No questions at all, but I definitely had a good smile because that was so satisfying seeing how nicely those joined together. That makes me so happy.
If you knew the educators, we hold our breath because when we make these, when we make our staples and everything turns out right. But then when we go live on camera, it just, nothing lines up right. And we just want it to look nice for camera, live TV, as they say. So those are all your pieces. And I would suggest like looking at the example and assembling each section. So like I assembled this section, and then I laid them all out and then sewed them together as I went. So this would be one whole piece right here. Y'all, this stocking is really big. I joke that the stockings that we have already at my house are really big. My great grandma made them. And it's difficult as a parent or as Santa to fill them some days, some Christmases. This is a very large stocking. So this is at 100% right here. So for the next part, I have something already pre-done and quilted so I can go through the assembly. I actually decreased the size to 80%. So here's the template piece for the big one. It is very large. I have to lean back to get it in camera. And I did my next example one at 80%. So it's a little bit smaller. It still is a good size. It's just a little bit smaller. So I have already, and what you would do next, let's talk through the next steps really quick. So imagine I have a whole nother section over here. We are going to get fusible batting. It doesn't have to be fusible, but I like it to be fusible. It's easier to work with when you're putting things together. In the instructions, it has you take your front panel quilt piece, put the fusible batting, and then put a backing on it. You don't need that backing. When I was going through it, I was we don't need it because we're going to have a separate lining. So you're going to take your quilt panel with the extra side on over here, fuse it to fusible fleece or fusible batting, whatever, and you can quilt it. So for this one that I did here, I just did straight line quilting, you can see, and I just did straight line. I used the Epic with the IDT and the grid and the laser guide, and I just sewed straight down, and it was great. So that's what you're going to do for both pieces. You're going to end up with 2 total pieces. If you want this on the front and the back, you can just do a solid piece if you want on the back instead. You're going to fuse your batting and then quilt it down. Then you're going to have a quilted, I don't want to call it a sandwich because you don't have a backing on it. You don't need a backing on it. And you're going to cut it down. You're going to use the template or the pattern, and you're going to cut it down to what you need. So you will end up with 2 stocking pieces. Make sure that you have them going the right way as well. So you wouldn't want to have your fabric right side up and just move your template piece over because they wouldn't line up. You want to make sure that you flip your pattern piece or have your 2 pieces together when you're cutting it and cut around so that you have a front and a back. And these are quilted already. This has fusible fleece in it that I've already pre-quilted and everything. And then you're going to need 2 lining pieces. So again, I just layered my fabric in half. So I've got two pieces. I put the pattern piece on it and then cut it out. So I've got 2 of those here. And we're just going to put the whole thing together. You are also going to need a 3 by 8 inch piece right here, strip, and we're going to press it in half like this. I've already pre-done this. Once you press it in half, you're then going to open it up and push those sides in and then press it in again. So this is going to give you this is going to be your little thing for your hook, for your hanger, just like that. And we're going to sew down both sides. Then we're going to start assembling it all. So I have my white. I can just use white. Thinking if I needed a change. So I'm actually going to line my fabric up with the inside of the foot, this little part that comes out. So I'm at like a 1/16 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch. And we're just going to sew straight down because we want to hold this in place. We don't want our loop to come undone. So I'm actually sewing it. I think in the instructions, it has you only sew on one side, but I like to see stitching on both sides. So we're just going to turn it around and just quickly sew down the side right here as well. This would be cute too. You could definitely add a decorative stitch to this. You could also, I just had a thought. You could also go ahead in here and program in a decorative font with the name of whoever's stocking this is going to be. So that on the loop, I don't know why I turned that around. It's the same on both sides. So that on the loop, you had the name of who it was. If all the stockings were the same or they didn't have personalization, you could definitely add the name. You could add, Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays, whatever it is you want on there as well. That would be really cool to do that. I wish I had thought about that ahead of time because I would have done that. So what we're going to do next is we're going to take our 2 outside pieces and we're going to put them right sides together like this. And we're going to sew all the way around. We're not going to sew this top part though. We want to leave this open. So let's do that really quickly. This was part of the reason why I made it a little bit smaller because I'm like, this is going to take me forever just to sew around here. So the seam allowance that they tell you to use is a 3/8 inch seam allowance. So I'm looking for my other foot here. I'm going to use this one today. And I know where my 3/8 inches right over here. I know where the guideline is for that. So you can do whatever size you want to do. Just make sure that whatever size you make, whatever seam allowance you do for here, that you do it on the lining piece as well. So we're going to go all the way around. This is going to take me like 60 seconds. So this is a great time to ask any questions. I would love to know if you guys have made your own stockings before, or if you have pre-purchased them, which is fine too, and then just personalize them. I'll give you a little backstory on my stockings while y'all do that. So my great grandma made my stockings for, my family growing up, and she passed before I had my family and whatnot. And so I had to find somebody to help me, because mine are actually granny squares. They're actually crocheted, but so I had somebody make them before I did all my sewing and everything. But what I could have done was I could have actually done the granny squares with the yarn embellishment attachment and made my own stockings that way. So in the future, if I need more, that's probably what I'll do, is to test out and try doing it that way so that I've made them. So, but again, because they're yarn, they stretch a little bit. And so it is always so much fun to find all of the things that will fill it for my children. That's where I struggle every year, is filling the stockings up. So straight all the way down here. Any questions or comments or anything, Amy?
Nope, I'm not seeing anything.
All right. And I'm just going to reverse and forward there. And we're going to leave this wrong side out, because we're going to put our right side, or our lining piece, in it in just a second. So this again is sewn all the way around except the opening right here. So next we're going to take our lining piece, and we're going to sew all the way to about right here, and we're going to stop. We're going to leave a big gap, and then we're going to sew a little bit here. So this is going to be where we turn it on the lining on the inside. So I'm going to start with my little short side here. And when you do this, again, I just reverse back stitch a little bit to lock it in. And you definitely want to do that when you get to the part. So I just sewed probably about 3 or so inches right there, and back stitch, because when you go to turn this, you can put strain on those stitches and pop them. So here's where I stopped, and I'm probably going to come to about right here. Oh, I didn't mean to press that on. I meant to press the first foot down. And then right here. And again, we're going to go forward a little bit, backwards, and then back forward. And again, just all the way around. This is all going to be on the inside, so it doesn't have to be perfect exact. What's nice about having bigger than a 1/4 inch seam allowance is you have a little bit of wiggle room, because you have that bigger seam there. But if you get to the curves and things like that, just stop, straighten everything out. Make your turns. Also, when you're doing curves like this, it sometimes is helpful to have, I think I mentioned this on a previous live not long ago, it helps to shorten your stitch length when you're doing that as well. It helps to make those curves a little bit easier. And then you get on the straightaway and you just pedal to the metal right there, all the way down. And then we're going to reverse and forward. All right, so let me show you all this here. So I have this sewn all the way around, except right here on this straight side, I've got a big opening here, and that's where we're going to turn it here in a minute. So now what we're going to do, you can clip your corners here. I'm going to do that really quickly. I'm just going to use these guys. So your curves, it's helpful to just clip them just a little bit there, so that when you go to turn it, you get a more smooth edge, because this lining piece, we're going to turn it right side out here in just a second. So
Meredith, do you want to clip the curves on the quilted piece in the same way?
Yep, that's what I'm going to do next too. Yes. Did not mention that beforehand, but yes, that's what I'm going to do there. So we're going to clip them there, and then we're going to quickly clip them here. And you can see for this one, you can see it a lot better than on the front. I did the little serpentine stitch on this one and just did it every, I just eyeballed it, turned my projection on, and it's very forgiving when you use thread that matches your fabric when you're doing it. So I just did the straight line serpentine stitch on this one. And then, like I said, on my other ones that I'm doing, I'm going to do straight line, just straight down. You end up cutting so much of what you've quilted that it doesn't matter in the end, really. So here's our lining. We're going to turn this right side out. And when you do this, we're going to make sure that all of our curves are pushed out. And there's no need to press it, but you definitely can if you want to. But you see how much cleaner it looks when you snip those corners? Just makes the curves fall into each other. I don't know where that brown fuzz came from. All right, so what we're going to do now, I'm going to try and show you on this one. Here's our main fabric. We're going to take our little tab right here, fold it in half like that. And we're going to put it inside on this side seam, this side over here, because that's how it's going to hang. I mean, maybe some people hang their stockings this way. I hang mine this way. For the one that I made over here, I actually put the tab, if I knew, because I liked one side better than the other, like how the fabric was placed. So I actually put it, I'll show you, to this side. So here's my middle seam right here. I actually put it to the side. So in the instructions, I think they have you put the tab right there in the middle, but you could definitely move it one way or the other if you wanted it to hang on a certain, so like the tab would be on the back side of how you wanted it to hang. So I'm going to put mine in the center for this one. And I'm going to press open these seams as well. Just a little bit easier to work with. And then we're going to clip in place right there. Then what we're going to do, we're going to take our lining piece. Make sure you put the right side to the right side. Okay, so it should be like this, not like this. Okay, so we're going to put this in our stocking. I like to just put my hand in there and push it all the way down in there. It doesn't really necessarily matter because we're going to turn it all out anyway, but I like to just make sure that I'm putting it in there the right way as well. And then what we're going to do, come back over here so you can see. Let me back up a little bit here. So this is our side seam right there. I'm going to push that down and line that up so that the raw edges are lined up with that same edge and where my tab is. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the other side because I've got two side seams. We're going to open them up right here and line them up. Again, I just open them up. You could definitely push them one way if you wanted to or the other. I'm just going to open them up so it's an even bulkiness on both sides. And put a clip there. Then I like to sort of just go around and make sure everything is lined up. And I'm going to add in a couple more clips here just to hold everything in place. Any questions on this before I put it together? Because once I put it together, there's no going back. So
no questions about that, but everyone does love your festive green nails.
Oh, thank you. I know, conveniently not planned, they match my green on my other stocking. So you have this whole thing right here, and we're going to take our accessory tray off here. So we have our free arm. We're going to place this right in here. So, and we're going to go all the way around it, and we're going to sew all the way around because again, our opening is in our lining piece. So we don't need to worry about it being closed up. And take my first pin out there. And it doesn't really matter where you start at on this. To me, it's really a preference because you're not going to see this part of the seam anyway. It's going to be on the inside. Just take your clips out as you go. Making sure everything's lined up as well. I keep putting them down in there, and I shouldn't do that because I'm not able to put my thing back on in a minute. Can you get it? There it goes. Okay. When you get up to these bulky seams, just go slow. If you need to, lower your needle down, get everything under your presser foot. But it should go through it like butter. And we're back around here. So here's where I started. And I'm just going to cut it right there. All right, then what we're going to do, we're going to pull out our lining, and here's our opening. And we're going to shove everything through that opening right there.
While you're turning that, Meredith, I do have a couple of questions.
Yes.
Somebody would like to have you tell us again what kind of stabilizer or batting you used on that. And then somebody would like to know if you think the blocks would look okay with patterned fabric for the triangles or the squares rather than solid fabrics as you made yours.
Okay. So yes, definitely. I think it would be fine. I was half tempted to do because I'm really trying to use my stash ever since the power, since our store closed, ever since the Joann's closed. I'm really trying to use what I have. I'm trying to be better about that. And majority of everything I had here, I already had. And so, but you could definitely, I was looking at, there was a gold one that I had in my stash that it was like a gold on gold tone. What would be really cool is you could definitely fussy cut these, your square on square, and have like, if I wanted to do this, I could come in here and manually cut out, a little piece of it. You could definitely use a printed fabric if you wanted to. I think it would be fine. It would definitely give it a different look, and I think that's cool. So, and the other question was
stabilizer.
Stabilizer, thank you. So I just used, this was fusible fleece. And again, it's what I had in my stash already. So it's a double-sided fusible fleece, which I knew I wasn't going to use the other side, and it was fine. So just fusible fleece is all I used. There's no other stabilizer in it because it's just the quilting pieces. So before you push it all back in here, you would obviously close up your opening. But for time's sake, I'm going to push it in there for now. And if you had asked me if I was making this when my iron's going off. That's the thing with this iron. The only thing I don't necessarily like is the timer is a little bit too short. But if you had asked me when I first started sewing, I would have hand sewn that opening closed. And I'm like, no, this is on the inside of the stocking. It does not matter. So just, sew it up with your sewing machine and finish it. And then what I would do also is I would go around and top stitch this all the way around as well. Just keeping that all lined up because then it keeps your lining in there as well. And I'm just trying to get it all fluffed out and looking kind of pretty so you can see. And there you go. And there is your stocking. I really like the idea. I'm really hung up on that of like putting the name on the hanging part there. I think that would be really neat and add a little personal touch. So here is your finished stocking, or here's the original one here. Again, it's very large. That's why I'm going to a little bit smaller one. So when I printed this, I just, for this other smaller one, this to me is a good size stocking. This was at 80% versus 100% for this one here. So there's one more thing. I think I've got 10 minutes, and I know I've got 10 minutes, Amy, I know. So one thing when you go to cut out your stocking piece, you end up with a little bit of waste. And I'm like, I did all that piecing and I don't want to waste what I have left on there. So if you look at this big pattern piece, you end up with like, there's a whole section over here. And I'm like, I don't want to waste that. So I took some of those pieces and I cut them into circles. And I'm going to make coasters with them. But so we actually have instructions for, I think that's what the Swedes did also. I think they realized that there was some waste too, because their coasters look like leftover pieces from their stockings. But I did mine a little bit different. So I just found a template circle. This is actually a little small. I wish I would have made this a little bit bigger, but you'll get the concept for today. And then I took coordinating fabric and I folded it in half and pressed it like that. And I overlapped it just a little bit. So like this is a little bit more than half the distance. I think this whole circle was 4 inches. And so this is about 2.5 inches. And so I did 2 of those. And we're going to line them up right sides to our piece here. And we're going to sew around this, sew around the edge. That's what I did here. I sewed around the edge and you just flip it. So, and I snipped my edges around and you just flip it. So your raw edges are on the inside and you can have little coasters and you can gift them or you can save them. And it would be really neat to, have your stockings hanging up and have matching coasters in your living room to go with them. So I didn't want all of that to go to waste. And I wanted to share that with you guys too. So any other questions or any other inspiration that you would like to share with me, if you've made your own stockings and things like that?
I'm not seeing any questions on here.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope you all enjoyed it. Amy, do you know when this is our last HV live of the year?
It is. Next week, Mickey has a Creative 8 live. I don't remember what she's doing.
She is doing the JPEG to SVG. So if you, again, have a memento and you've been wanting to create your own cut files and everything, we've done some lives on this before, but there still are some questions out there that we see. We do look at the comments and things that go on in the other Facebook groups or the other feeds, and we try and circle back to those things if we see it often enough. And so that's what we're doing with this live with Mickey next week, is she's just going to go through again, creating your own SVGs and the whole process, and hopefully answering any questions you might have within Draw and Paint and things like that we still see out there. So that would be a great live for you to join in next week. And then this is like I said, our last HV live, but we will have another one in the new year. Did you tell me those times, Amy, or do you know them off the top of your head?
I do not know them.
Okay.
For January. Check back.
They will be in January. We're doing our lives a little different next year, and we're doing some new videos and things like that. So stay tuned. But we will have them posted again on Facebook and YouTube when the live is posted and things like that. If you're watching this later, again, feel free to add in your comments, questions, things like that. We'll come back. If you make this later, we would love to see your finished projects. Feel free to come in and add in those photos or send us photos of those. We love to see what you create as well. Well, thank you again. And thank you for a great year. I hope you all have enjoyed and have learned so much this year, as much as we have as well. And I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas, and I will see you in 2026.